we crack on.
Okay. Let me ask the question again. Can anyone hear us in the audio room? Please give us some sign that you can hear us. Because I see people inside the room.
And I can hear a faint sound from my phone, which I've turned the volume down on. So I think you're being broadcast in there, but it would be nice if we could have the audience to confirm that.
Okay, so at least I know that Vicky's tuning in from YouTube. That's reassuring. All right. There may just be some kind of a lag. Okay, Nola says yes. Where Nola's coming from LinkedIn. You see the little symbol next to her name, so you can see who's on YouTube. And I think so. Peter says, "I can hear you." He's coming on LinkedIn. Okay, someone wants to speak on LinkedIn audio, so let me try to put someone up on the stage.
That's my colleague Gilles. Okay.
Oh, trying to give
he's on the stage. Nice.
Hey guys, thank you so much. I'm sorry to crush you early. It's just that, Krista, your line is constantly cutting while John isn't. I just wanted to make sure it's not a problem everybody has.
Okay. Thanks for that feedback, Gilles.
Welcome, guys. You can kick me out.
Okay. We'll give it a little bit of time. I apologize. I do think it's my internet. So I want to make sure everyone knows that we're live on LinkedIn Live. We're live on YouTube, and we are in the LinkedIn audio room. Can anyone who's watching us from LinkedIn Live confirm the quality? So we just heard from Jill, who came to the LinkedIn audio room. On LinkedIn Live or on YouTube, can you all hear us? Okay, I got a thumbs up in the LinkedIn audio room, so there may just be a lag, but they say audio is bad. Maybe it's because of my internet, but also I'm doing LinkedIn Live and LinkedIn Audio.
You do sound crystal clear to me now, Krista, for what it's worth.
Well, internet goes in and out. So, okay, someone says good on LinkedIn. Okay. Someone says live is much better than audio room. So if anybody is in the LinkedIn audio room listening in and it's really not quality, I invite you to go over to the LinkedIn Live, which is by clicking on my profile, and you should be able to see behind my banner, Krista Molione banner, you should be able to join into the LinkedIn Live version. But Vicky is now saying you're clear on both platforms. So another person says go through LinkedIn video only, not audio. Juana says, hi, Chris and John. I'm on both, and I think the audio. So it sounds like audio might be not well supporting that I'm going live on the two platforms at the same time. So in a way, it might not just be my internet. It might be because LinkedIn audio is a new feature, and it's been buggy. I've been in their beta group for about 6 months now, and it just may be too much for them to handle. But I definitely want you guys to get the value out of John, and I appreciate everyone for coming here. There's someone raising their hand. Let me check. Okay, I've got 2 people up on the stage on LinkedIn audio. Did you guys want to say anything about the sound or something else? Sorry, we're not hearing you. There may be a lag. There just may be a lag of responding to people. Guys, unfortunately, I think the LinkedIn audio is the problem right now. And I think that the quality on LinkedIn Live, from what people are saying, is better. And then we also have people over on YouTube who are doing fine. I have right now Peter, who says sound and video on YouTube are fine. Okay. And this is interesting. Vicky is saying that she can't see audio events on LinkedIn, even though I sent her the direct link. So that's interesting.
I think anyone can join the events. Maybe she's just saying that she can't create them, perhaps, because almost no one can create them. But anyone should be able to join them.
Yeah, exactly. When you say you don't have audio events, Vicky, that's normal because LinkedIn has just recently announced they're going to try to open it up to everyone. But you know how LinkedIn moves. They're very, very slow. With anything they roll out, it's not going to happen overnight. I think it took them 10 years to get the laughing emoji. I can imagine in the boardroom. Can you imagine being a LinkedIn Microsoft employee and like you have to vote on it and then it misses it by one vote. So it gets pushed over to the next year. I can only imagine how crazy. Okay, well, let's get started. Sorry, guys, for such a delay. Today we have John Espirian, as you can see by his wonderful background. And John is a LinkedIn expert. And I first became aware of John because he did some really cool videos on Vimeo. And I really like Vimeo because it's ad-free and it's distraction-free. And one of my biggest problems as a coach is how to be more productive, how to get more done. And social media is absolutely a time suck. It's hard to focus. You're being bombarded with notifications and scrolling and different things happening, advertising. So I love Vimeo. So I wanted to thank you, first of all, John, for coming and ask you to tell us how long you've been on LinkedIn actively, because all of us had like the date we created our profile. That doesn't count. That's like, we don't even, that'll age you.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, signed up in 2008, but I didn't get active until the start of 2017. So it's been about 5.5 years now.
And why LinkedIn?
It's where I looked for my B2B writing clients, because that's what I was for more than a decade, a technical copywriter. So that was the best place to find leads. And then I just slowly found that I was learning how the platform worked more and more and using my powers of explanation to show others how that worked. And now that's pretty much what I do full time.
Got it. Okay. So when you were doing your technical copywriting client seeking, you realized that you were getting better and better at LinkedIn.
Yeah, it was part of the method of uncovering those people and having conversations with them and creating content that would appeal to them. All of that led to, I can generalize this. I can show anyone how to do the same sort of thing. And here we are some years later, and I've moved away from copywriting completely now, and specialize only really in LinkedIn and online visibility and personal branding.
Well, you have an unfair advantage because obviously producing content is a lot about having a clear voice and mastering some of the techniques like the hook, the story, the conclusion, the humor. And so definitely I'm happy that you moved into LinkedIn, because I think more people need your skill in that area than just reserving it for a couple of technical copywriting clients. All right.
Yeah, I think everyone could do with communicating better. Mine is all about getting to the point, but doing it with a bit of personality as well. So that seems to resonate with my audience. They like my style. They say that I'm clear. And yeah, that's what I try to convey whenever I coach others on how to create clear content. Get to the point, put your personality into it. That's probably how I would sum it up.
Harder said than done, especially for the majority of us who don't have a writing background. Surprisingly, it's almost like being at a cocktail party or networking event and you have to give your little pitch about what you do, and it's very hard for most people. So is that why you started Expresso free community, to just get the word out there more, or was there something else that triggered that?
No, not really. I started my Espresso as an email list, and it was running well for several years, but it felt like it was just a broadcast medium. You know, I was sending out messages. I would sometimes get responses, but those responses would come directly back to me. They wouldn't go between the people who were subscribed to the list. And so I thought, rather than having the lighthouse approach of a beam going out to everyone, you know, it's better to have a campfire where people can huddle around and talk to each other. And so I thought the only way to do that is through a group. Everyone keeps banging on about how Facebook groups are great, but I can't stand Facebook, and I spend all my time on LinkedIn anyway. So why not just try and do it through a LinkedIn group? So that's what I set up late last year. It was much more successful than I thought it would be. And that's what then ultimately turned into a paid community. But that's where it started, as a free LinkedIn group.
Wonderful. And so when was the point where you said this group should be monetized? Was it always in the back of your mind, or was it some of your members who were like, John, this is so good, you should do? Because if I would have known you back then as a business coach, you would have heard from me. I just didn't know you personally then. Was that the case, or was it you yourself?
I created the group thinking that maybe 50 people would join it, and 650 people joined it, and it became a full-time job trying to keep up with all the engagement, and yet I was doing it all for free. So it became clear within 3 months, I would say, that I either drop it as a going concern or I monetize it to keep it going, and I chose the latter. And a proportion of those people have stayed on, and that means that we now have a paying community that has extra stuff beyond a LinkedIn group. But it's great because, you know, I love engagement. I love chatting to people. So it's really fulfilling stuff. But yeah, there's no way I could keep doing it for free. But that was never the plan. The plan was only just to have some group conversations. I didn't think it would be quite as busy as it's turned out to be.
So, John, you're one of the rare people that I've ever met who succeeded on LinkedIn to create a thriving group in the past couple of years. So I think there was a first wave of success, because when I first came around a little bit later than you, probably late 2018.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked right away to join groups, and I found these massive groups. I'm talking like, 50,000 people members, 20,000 people members. And I realized, wow, there's these massive groups, but starting a group, hardly anybody is able to. So I think those groups already had existed. Maybe there was some push that LinkedIn did politically previously that helped them. But when I asked some of the people, they just said, our group's been around forever, since 2004, like from the day one almost. But so around 2017, 2018, when you and I came on there, it was really, really hard to build a group. Yeah. In fact, all the groups that I saw that were active on a regular weekly basis were actually pods. And so they had no conversations, zero conversations. They had fancy names, LinkedIn to win it. Sorry, there is a good group that's called that, but something of the art. Okay. And then you would join, and then immediately you just see link. And you're like, hello, anyone here? What's going on here? And I remember being really naive, because people were like, oh, you should join this community. You should join. And I realized that these were pods, but I didn't know what a pod was. So I remember staying on about 6 months before I just like really figured out, this is bad. This is really bad. And then I left. But I think, what was different about you that made your LinkedIn group take off?
Well, I mean, what I'd observed for LinkedIn groups over the years is that either they are spam fests that are meant to further the causes of the person who set up the group, or they're complete ghost towns where nothing happens at all. And because that's all I'd ever seen, I was on quite a downer on LinkedIn groups for the longest time. I just thought, well, I've never seen one work, so they can't be very good. But I knew in the back of my head, I've never actually tried to make one myself. So it was only when I tried last year to do it, and I said, I'm not going to try and further my own cause here. I'm going to try and start conversations, have a clear purpose for the group. So I set 4 things that the group was about. You can very clearly see who the leader of the group is, but that person isn't selling to you. I wasn't trying to sell anything at all. And then I was trying to keep engagement going. So every time someone posted something, I was encouraging them, thanking them, asking questions. We were having direct message conversations behind the scenes to discuss, what might be good to discuss in the group. So all of that is a lot of effort. And if you're not going to have any kind of sales component of it, like I'm not trying to sell anything to these people, I just want to have a chat with them about relevant topics. It's a lot of effort for no obvious reward. But that's the route to success. I think if you go into it trying to serve other people and give them a safe space, that's the other big thing. It's like LinkedIn has 830 million users. If you're posting stuff, you're quite vulnerable then, because trolls might come along, or your message might not land well. Whereas if you're in a group of 50 people, 100 people, 500 people, it's much safer, and you can try stuff, and maybe you can try videos that you would never do in public and get feedback and encouragement, and everyone feels like they're on the same team. That's not the same as being in a pod at all. Like, I can't stand, you post something terrible and we'll all go and like and comment on it, and then we do the reverse. It's just, that's really bad behavior, and it's against the rules anyway. So anyone doing that might eventually get shut down. So it was never about anything like that. But it is a lot of effort to maintain, because if you come up with rules, you have to make sure that people follow those rules. What if they don't follow the rules? What are your processes going to be? How are you going to communicate with people? How are you going to find new stuff to talk about to keep people engaged? There's a lot of effort involved.
So one of the things that I find people come to me all the time and ask, and I failed at this as well, is keeping people engaged. Mm-hmm. So I put together my content schedule where I was like, okay, I'm gonna go live on these days per week. I'm gonna put out a value-driven post on this day. I'm gonna let people do promotions on this day. So the typical things that I learned on Facebook from my coach, who in the old days, all coaches just used Facebook. They have no idea LinkedIn. When I tell them there's actually groups on LinkedIn, they don't even believe me. They're like, what? Why would you spend time there? That doesn't make any sense. So I followed pretty much the Facebook strategy, and it didn't work at all. It didn't work at all. It fell flat, and I didn't get much engagement. And I find it, a lot of people ask me that question. So what's the secret of getting others to feel comfortable in speaking? Are they mostly asking questions, like value-driven questions about LinkedIn? Are they mostly sharing their own stories? Like, give us tips about the engagement portion, because that's such a hot topic that people see all the time.
Yeah, I wanted people to feel very comfortable about asking any questions they wanted to, so long as they were on the core purpose of the group. So we talk about personal branding, content creation, online visibility, and LinkedIn best practice. If it's not about one of those 4 things, it's probably not relevant for my group. And I was just really transparent with my own stuff. Like, I'm always testing something. I come from a software testing background, so I'm always testing stuff, sharing results, and I don't really hide anything. So I suppose when people see the leader of a community doing that, like, I'm testing this today, and look at this as what I found, and in a couple of days' time, I'm going to share this publicly. They can kind of see that you're being transparent, you're sharing everything you know. That they also feel empowered to maybe speak up and ask questions and share what they know, and it's just much easier when there's so much fewer people in the room because of it. So yeah, that's it. And I guess also I didn't start the group until I'd been really active on LinkedIn for 4 years. So that's a lot of social credit that I'm putting in the bank. I mean, if I tried to start this group when I was a year into my journey and almost no one knew who I was, why would they trust me? Why would they open up? It's that social credit. Of course, I didn't know that's what I was going to be building towards, but it's that social credit that meant that people will go, yeah, okay, I'm comfortable to be in a group that's run by this guy, and I'm happy to share stuff. So if you haven't already spent some time building your personal brand and getting that kind of trust equity in your social bank, you better start now, because if you ever wanted to start a community, it's going to be really hard. You can't just do it from a standing start. You don't have any trust, and this takes time. You don't trust someone overnight. So yeah, years in the bank made the process a bit easier.
You're just giving us so much value, and I just hope that my terrible internet problems aren't going to interfere with this, and we'll have a great recording for a replay for everyone who couldn't really hear us on the LinkedIn audio. So if you guys are on the audio and the sound is still not participating well with us, then go over to my profile on LinkedIn and click on my banner, and you'll be able to see the LinkedIn live video. And apparently the sound is better there. We've got Chris, who's in the group, who says, key thing you said, social credit. Can you just define for people in the audience, what is social credit? Like, if I would say I'm just starting out now and I sincerely don't feel, no matter how long I've been active on LinkedIn, I don't feel that I have social credit. What can I do immediately to start changing that?
Well, I think it's one of the principles of persuasion and influence is setting up what I would call reciprocal debts with people. What that means is that if I help you today, and then again next week, and then next month, and I produce content that's got really high utility, and I'm giving you all of that for free, there's no catch, there's no strings. I don't even ask you to sign up to an email list if you don't want to. You're just getting that content for free. Then naturally, when the time comes that you think to yourself, am I going to recommend this person? I'm going to refer them. Am I going to hire them? You've got credit in the bank. They've got to trust you because you've shown them an open hand that's full of goodies, right? So that's where it all comes from. If I would just sell all the time, who would trust me? That doesn't make any sense. So you have to give value first, and you have to give it for quite a long time. And you have to then be congruent, as I say in my book, with this shape that you're building. So I talk about being relentlessly helpful. That's my cornerstone, my foundational anchor brand value. If I'm not that, and I show that I'm not that, then all of this house of cards falls down. It doesn't mean anything if I don't fulfill what I say. So I've made this public promise, quite a big one, relentlessly helpful, and everything I do is in service of being that person. And so if I am that person over months or years, again, naturally, you're going to trust that person. I haven't given you any reason not to trust me. And it's a drip effect over time. It would be very easy for me to ruin all of that pretty quickly, I should imagine, but that wouldn't be in my business interest. So if you can define what you want to be known for and show up faithfully and be that person for months or years on end, you will build your social credit. And if you can provide content that actually solves real problems, then people are going to remember you positively, and they will want to pay you back in some way. That might be they recommend you to your cousin when they need a logo designer or whatever it is, or they sign up to your list, or maybe they download your ebook, or maybe even they join your community discussion group.
This is just so valuable, John. I think that we haven't learned how to do this right, because I see so many people playing the LinkedIn game by thinking that they have to do only two things: improve their profile. So they might take a LinkedIn course or hire a LinkedIn coach to polish their profile, to write a nice about section, to improve their background, their photo, cover all the bases so their profile looks polished. And then they think that they just should post as often as possible, and they don't even really care what they post. I called out one of my clients last week for posting something so off brand that I told him, you actually hurt your brand with that post. And I asked him gently if he would consider removing that. And his response was, I was posting that because I think right now it's trending, it's popular, and because I didn't have anything better to post, because he had neglected. I should mention that we're not like really actively right now working together, because I had prepared an editorial schedule for him that he's supposed to follow, where he posts certain topics on certain days, and he prepares everything month by month. So basically, by the end of June, he has all his content for July planned out. By the end of July, he has all his content for August planned out, according to the schedule we've developed and the topics that he wants to be known for as a thought leader. But because we're right now taking a little break, well, he decided to post something because it's popular, because he thinks it's trending. And he said, it's better to post something than nothing at all. And this is where I said, absolutely not. I said, you can actually, so my opinion, and I want to share this. Oh my gosh, you have a branded mug. Can you show that to us 1 second? Oh my goodness. Did you get that from Jeff Young? Jeff Young is the.
He gave me my douche canoe mug, but not this one. No, I got this myself.
Okay. He's such a great character as well. I'm telling you this story because I'm telling you how most people are playing the LinkedIn game from what I've seen. They're like, well, I have a nice profile. And then I'm posting every day. And I don't know what I'm posting, but, I showed up. Didn't I? And I'm telling them it's better to post less, but better content, because I think that everything you post either helps or hurts your brand. So I don't think posting crap is good enough or just will keep up your profile algorithm. On the contrary, I feel like, it's better to skip a day if you're not organized and say, sorry, I've been busy and I'm back, than to be just posting and trying to grab loose strings and post something. What do you think about this, John? Have you seen this as well?
Yeah, I mean, there's certainly a lot of that kind of trying to be popular because someone else is doing something, and that's exactly the wrong reason to be posting anything. What you should do is you should define what you want to be known for, and keep in mind that you can never truly be in control of what other people think of you, but you can steer the flow of the river a little bit by saying, I'm going to stand for this and this and this. And then once you've defined those brand building blocks, I called my book Content DNA, because I like the idea that something really complex, DNA, can be made of some really simple building blocks that are repeated in lots of interesting patterns. So once you define these simple building blocks, you just need to make sure that whatever your content is, it's in service of those things, so that you're putting the right picture into people's heads. And you then need to do that over time. It's not going to happen overnight. So I do agree with you when you say that, posting something might be a lot worse than posting nothing. If that thing is completely irrelevant, what's going to happen? People might unfollow you. And once someone has unfollowed you, they're probably never going to follow you back again. You'll be out off their radar completely. So that one instance could be enough to jeopardize a potential future referral opportunity. So you need to make sure that whatever you're saying always is kind of in service of the personal brand that you're trying to build. And the biggest problem that I've seen when clients have approached me traditionally for copywriting, but also for, general LinkedIn support, is they just want the results much quicker than is possible. Yes, some people can actually get success after only a few months. But generally speaking, Mark Schaefer's research for his book Known said that on average, it takes about 2.5 years to become known in your chosen industry. And that's assuming that you're building your personal brand in a very focused way, not just doing random stuff. So 2.5 years is not a short period of time. But then if your career is going to span another 20 years, it's a worthwhile investment, because being known opens loads of doors to speaking opportunities and, being interviewed in books and higher paid speaking other gigs and stuff like that. So it's worth the effort. But don't expect too much too soon, and be really mindful about what personal brand building blocks you want to be known for.
I'm so happy that you talked about being in it for the long game, because I believe that some people mistakenly purchase a LinkedIn course thinking that within the next month, that's it. The floodgates will open and they will have thousands of clients. And if the course didn't deliver, the course is bad. And honestly, the people who you and I know, I'm sure we know the same people that come to mind who are killing it on LinkedIn, have one or both things going for them. Number one, you either have a extremely magnetic brand, like your personality. I don't care if you're on LinkedIn or you'd be on TikTok, you'd be successful wherever you go, because there's something magnetic about you. And it usually involves having a very distinct style. So you have green hair, you have a lot of piercings, you have like very distinct things that make you immediately stop me from scrolling and want to like hone in on who the heck is that? I need to know more. That's number one. And the other side of it is a very, very, very good writing style. I just interviewed someone for my podcast on a recorded situation there. And his name is Tim Denning. I don't know if you've heard of Tim. Massive writer. I mean, that guy, it feels like he's edited out all the unnecessary stuff and just focused on the gold. And I feel like those people, or Justin Welsh, those people are just killing it in that type of industry, because they've just been able to distill a certain type of writing style. So we have to face the facts that those two things, having a really magnetic personality or unique style, is hard. And a lot of it is independent from you. And having a killer writing style takes years. Like you've got a copywriting background. You've got a huge advantage over us. Okay. So with that said, I was just trying to emphasize on setting expectations of how long things will take for the rest of us. Just showing up, but being really honed in on our niche is super important. And I just had a conversation before this call about pivoting. And I said, it's okay. So what if you pivoted? You're not locked into one thing. It's okay if you realize that that's not your niche and you want to switch up your content, and then you want to adjust your LinkedIn profile accordingly. There's no police on LinkedIn telling you that that's not okay, and that you've invested so much time marketing to the wrong people or being all over the place and now you can't change, right? You have to, better late to the party than never, right? Chris says here, society wants a microwave result. I'm an endurance athlete and a brand is a marathon. Yes, Chris.
Nice.
Shout out to him, because he's a really good community leader. So if anyone has any questions for John, we're about out of time. So I just want to make sure that anyone who has questions, please post them in any of the places where you're watching this, and we will kindly ask John to answer them. Ella, I want to say that, Ella, I love your content. So Ella, I discovered you recently, and I've seen her on TikTok right away. And I said, hey, I know that lady. So I love what you're doing, Ella. Keep it up. You're definitely doing a good job. There's so much inspiration, John, so much inspiration. So many people are putting their hearts out there, getting all their courage and just doing video, doing posting, being consistent. What's the future of your Expresso Plus group? I'd love to know like how you see this evolving. What's next?
Well, I want to deliberately keep it small because I'm not chasing a massive paycheck here. I want a community that trusts each other. And so I'm limiting my membership to 300 We're at 237 at the moment, so there aren't that many spaces left. And I want to keep it small. I want to keep it exclusive, and I want to keep it valuable for those people. And for anyone who's, whether you're in the community or not, if you wanted tips on writing, the killer tip for writing well is to make sure that it sounds the way it would sound if you said it in person. That's the thing that so many people don't do. They kind of revert to their school days, or they tense up and they write in more formal language, and they imagine that they're writing a university thesis or something for a CV, or I don't know, something for their boss, and it just feels a bit scary. And so you retreat to formality when it's like that. But actually, the best writing sounds the way it would if you were to say it out loud. So that's the number one tip I've got for you. Whenever you write something, and by the way, practice writing as much as you can. But whenever you do write something, make sure that before you hit the post button, you read it out loud and say to yourself, does this sound like me? Because if it doesn't, then there's going to be a problem somewhere down the road. Because if anyone ever gets on a Zoom call with you or meets you in person, they're going to go, who am I dealing with here? This isn't you. And if you do that, your writing will become relatable. You'll become everyday human, voice, and that's what people like. And if you look at all the people who blow up on social media, they're not writing in massive long paragraphs of stuffy academic text. It's just the world doesn't work like that. So just keep it normal and make it sound like you.
So while I do see some longer posts still get traction, I'm noticing a clear trend on LinkedIn from when we started in 2018-ish to now of going back to these really short Twitter-like phrases. Yeah. So I'm noticing that those posts are really taking off well, especially the ones that use the cliffhanger. Which if anyone listening doesn't know what that is, I'm sure John knows what I'm talking about, but it's this short hook phrase that gets you kind of startled or interested. And then there's 3 lines to go down. And the goal is, it's actually kind of sneaky what's going on here, because what that 3-line thing is, there's a little plus button that LinkedIn has now put on all the posts. So if you're scrolling through your feed and you see something interesting, you have to click that plus button to keep reading. And that triggers the LinkedIn algorithm that, hey, John is reading my post. Mm-hmm. So it's a sneaky way. And so people know that, a lot of writers. So I don't know if anyone in the audience doesn't know that, but I'm telling you. Have you noticed the same thing, John, that people are making more short, very clean posts?
The thing to remember here as well is that LinkedIn is making structural changes to support short form content more. So right now they are testing 2-line text previews on mobile. Short form.
Very firm.
If you click the bell on someone's profile to be alerted to all of their posts, a tiny snippet of that text goes into your notification. Again, if you haven't hooked them within those opening characters, they might not click through to that notification. Again, short form. If your video is less than 20 seconds long, it will loop on LinkedIn, and that will get you probably more in terms of view count. Again, they're supporting short form content. The new carousel post format, which I don't have yet, is going to be limited to 3 minutes, I think. So you put together text and images and videos, and it turns them into one composite video, but it can't be longer than 3 minutes. So again, everything LinkedIn seems to be doing is in response to the kind of TikTokization of social media. Short form content is where it's at, but that means that you need to sound as human as you can, and you need to grab people's attention as quickly as you can. So keep that in mind.
Thank you so much for dropping that gold, John. I think that we can't ramble. And that's something I learned from Tim Denning. He has paid newsletter. He's made 7 figures with his writing. And one of the secrets he distilled, spoiler alert, I'm going to disclose everything in the interview I did with him, but he talked about editing ruthlessly. So he's like, I write and then I go away. I have my writing days and I have my editing days. And he learned editing from another writer that we both know. And this guy basically edits out 80% of his work. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, how do you do that? How do you gain that, put on your little editor hat and then cut your own work? But what the point is I think that with the short attention span people have nowadays and the overwhelm of social media, the typical attention span, let's talk about 3 seconds. So this is another argument for me to pre-plan your content. I always stress this with my clients. I'm like, sometimes I write last minute posts, but I've gotten good at writing because I write a lot. So the more I write, the more I can suddenly just have this heartfelt moment and just put out this post, and it will really go viral. It will go like far because it was pent up in myself. But if I'm like struggling, I'm like, oh, I got to post something today. I haven't planned anything. So let me just come up with some random thing. You're going to fail pretty soon because as John is telling you, there's just so much going on right now that you want to, Vicky says, keep your messages short and valuable, so in order to do that, you should be thinking ahead, in my opinion.
Yeah, the power of editing is just huge. I mean, I used to be the director of an editorial society, so this is close to my heart. But, you don't make the dough and then cook the bread straight away. You've got to make the dough, let it rest, knock it into shape, and then it's ready to be baked. So all good writing is the product of good editing. That's a really important part. Most people don't really have the patience for that, but it is necessary. And if you can get the same message across in fewer words without losing any clarity or without losing any personality, then you're winning. If you can shorten a text by 20%, you're winning all day with that, so long as you don't lose anything of the message. And it is possible.
Well, honestly, I just read something by, what's his last name? Luke Matthews, I believe his name is. He wrote today that he's very inspired now by Twitter because he feels like on Twitter, your post either takes off or dies in really 3 seconds. And so he said that on LinkedIn, we tend to get spoiled because we have so much character freedom. And so we tend not to edit as much. And because his main platform is Twitter, he feels like that has made him better. And he notices that when something flies on Twitter, it's going to really fly on LinkedIn. So he's like, I'd rather test things on Twitter and then transfer them over to LinkedIn because I know that I've really got the gold. And that's because Twitter forces you to be on a diet. You have a word diet. Mm-hmm. Whereas LinkedIn kind of lets us hang out loose. And that's maybe not such a good thing, right?
Yeah, get to the point. That's the whole thing.
Get to the point. I actually wanted to say two things here is becoming a good writer. We've been talking about that for the last 10 minutes. And to become a good writer, I truly believe in being a reader. Stephen King, who wrote so many bestsellers, wrote a book on writing, which I love. And one of the things he says in there, he's often asked, so how do I become a better writer? And Stephen King said, well, you need to read. So, and reading is becoming a lost art, John. It's very, very bad. And that's why I created a book club. So I put this up here. It's called Book Club for Leaders. And I'm sure that you can agree with me that reading is such a major part of learning how to express yourself, expanding your vocabulary, learning about different writing styles, and then kind of finding your own voice by all that exposure. Yeah,
absolutely. No doubt. The more inputs you have, the more creative ideas that will spark. And, another tip that I've got really is to try to be as empathetic as you can to what the reader really needs in that moment. So I think copywriting is just really armchair psychology by another name. You're sitting there and thinking, what does my reader really need to hear right now? And if you can serve up those goods, you make that connection with that person, and that serves them the best you can. It's not really about you. It's always about your reader. So just think about how you can serve them best. And that makes for a good writer.
Well, that goes down to knowing who your reader is. One of the biggest problems I have with my clients are they're not getting sales because their content is a little bit all over the place. And I said, I don't know who you're writing for. So in one message, it sounds like you're writing for someone who's, and when I say who, maybe you're writing for this big group of people and you've told me I write for these types of people, but where are they at in their journey? And so if you're always switching up and you're like, oh, then I don't know, because even if it's that one category of person, they're at a very, very different place in their journey, they'll unfollow you. They're like, this is for beginners. I'm like way advanced. I've been doing this for 10 years. So suddenly, if you're talking about beginners, you need to be clear about that. You need to be for the beginners here in the group. Let me tell you how I got started and turn it into a story so that your advanced people don't unfollow you thinking, oh, now he only cares about the beginners. So, and I know that sounds overly picky, but I think the devil is in the details, right? If you confuse people, they unfollow, they leave, and they definitely don't buy anything from you. Because if I'm confused, I'm like, I don't know if I can trust John anymore. He used to say this and now he's talking to somebody else. And so speaking of that, I know you have a book. So I'm asking everyone who's watching this either live or in the replay, buy John's book. And I'm telling, let me be a little bit bossy for a minute. Buy John's book. Why is that? Why am I being so bossy? Because John has proven to me, even though this is the first time we've had this kind of lengthy conversation, I have lurked on John's profile for a long time. And I think that that's kind of a modern situation. So I would say that at least 80% of my clients are lurkers.
Yeah.
And they don't say anything. They don't participate. You don't even really know they're there. They're like ghosts. But then all of a sudden, boom, they're like, I've been following you for years, and they just buy something from me. Or they reach out and they want to talk. And I'm like, who are you? Oh yeah, I know you very well. And I'm like, really? And so that seems to be getting more and more the case. And so John has proven to me that he knows what he's talking about. So you can LinkedIn, everyone listening, you're listening because you care about LinkedIn, I assume. And if you care about LinkedIn, it means you care about B2B. You care about your personal brand. John has a lot of gold to say. So go over to that link I just put in there and just buy his book. Come on, you can afford it. I'm not asking you to buy some very expensive thing, but you need to support John. So consider it a buy me a coffee thing for all the free stuff that John gives you on LinkedIn, just to thank him. Okay. And you'll get so much more value from it.
I very much appreciate it. Thanks, Krista.
Thank you. And I'm putting your book into my my book club with your permission.
Oh, that'd be absolutely fantastic. Thank you.
And then people will have to buy it, John, because I'm not giving it. I'm not going to do plagiarism or give your book away. So guys, heads up, you're going to get this on your reading list because I think it's that good. All right. Okay. And then I have one last question before we wrap this up. Is Peter wants to know, how do you decide what the content is that builds your brand that's most helpful for your audience?
Well, I in the book I talk about the 5-spoke framework of chair, which is challenging, helpful, amusing, interesting, and relevant chair. If you create content that hits one or two of those high-level topics in all of the content that you put out on LinkedIn, that will be that's the kind of thing that gets best engagement, and that will help you develop your personal brand. You need to do some foundational work first to understand really what you're all about, and that you can't always do that on your own. Sometimes you need to sit in front of your best friend and ask them, what am I? Tell me about myself, or your family or your best customer, to get that brand identity. And then you need to create the content that helps your audience move along their journey while representing that personal brand that you've defined. This stuff isn't easy. It might take you a while to define what that brand is. I hope that the book helps you do that. But once you do, and if you can stick at it for long enough, a couple of years maybe or more, that's when people start to notice you, remember you, and then prefer you, and then you're on the path to success.
So can you just repeat that? Because I think I got it down, but I want to make sure. So challenging.
Chair is challenging, helpful, amusing, interesting, relevant.
Okay.
These are the high-level topics, high-level types of content that tend to get the best interaction, engagement on LinkedIn. This is true for all social media, really, but on LinkedIn, the more comments you can generate, the more traction you can generate for your posts, the better chance you have of getting that in front of more people. And if you've got a clear idea of what personal brand you're trying to build, then a proportion of that audience, maybe they are lurkers, but if they keep seeing that message often enough, then 9 months, 18 months down the line, they'll go, I've been following you for ages and I really want to buy from you now. So that's where you want to be.
All right. So everyone who didn't see that right away, we've got chair, which is easy to remember. It's challenging. Is your content challenging, helpful, amusing, interesting, and relevant?
Yeah.
So we're going to work through that in my book club, and we'll probably watch this replay. It will be your homework, guys, to watch.
There's a whole chapter about it in the book. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. And Peter says, oh my God, that's great, Jen. Thank you. And Juana says, content DNA is destined to become a classic.
No.
Vicky says, it's that good. Love content DNA. This is all so good, John. Thank you so much. This has been amazing. And the last thing I'd like to do is just make sure that we've got the link for your community. You are still accepting members, but it's almost over because you have this mission to stay tiny and mighty, which I love.
Well, you know what? It's called Espresso, so it would be weird if it was really a huge community. It's meant to be small and strong.
You're the Italian Illy versus the huge American double Starbucks with whipped cream and all the sugar in it, right?
Yeah, small and powerful. Yeah.
Small and powerful. It's funny you say that because I often tell people that I actually don't care about growth on LinkedIn. Mm-hmm. I could care less. What I care about is relationships. And I'm only one person. So how many people can I build a relationship with before it loses its power? So that's another advantage of staying small. So I love that, John. Mm-hmm. And that's probably your secret to stay trusted and a little bit of an intimacy and let the people build their friendships and their relationships amongst each other. So thank you. This conversation has been so powerful. Vicky says, thank you so much. You're relentlessly helpful always and appreciated, John.
Oh, thank you.
And Juana says, thank you so much for sharing. Okay, you got your fans here, John. And so everyone listening, do you guys see why John has so many fans? It's not because he's arrogant. It's not because he's trying to show off. It's because he is being just giving so much gold and being so helpful. And also because you're unpretentious. It's refreshing. It's refreshing that you're not trying to sell on people. Because that's what builds trust. It builds trust and reciprocity. Like you said, people want to help you back, want to help you by buying your book, joining your membership. And a last thing I want to mention before we hang up here, because it's getting late, is I want to make sure that people follow you on LinkedIn. But the question is, can we follow you? You have a company page, don't you, John?
I have a company page called Espirian.co.uk, which is really just a testing ground. I don't give any particular serious concern to that one. But if you search for my surname, so long as you can spell it right, then you will certainly find my personal profile. And I'd be happy to have a chat with anyone who's been listening to the show. Just send me a personalized invitation. I'd really appreciate it.
And by the way, I have a tip for anyone listening. Is you're not going to get away with sending just any old invitation to John. No. John wants you to really read his about profile, and you'll see why once you read it. So let me just make sure to drop this in there for any people who are somehow watching this on replay over on LinkedIn. Hey, Michelle Raymond. Hello.
Oh, nice. One
You,
of my favorites.
you are fashionably late, but with good reason. I know it's probably like 6 a.m. So we're actually going to wrap it up, Michelle, but I really appreciate you saying hi. It means a lot. You see how, John, this is beautiful. She says she's going to come back for replay to catch all. Oh, you will not be disappointed, Michelle. In fact, I just asked, isn't it like speak of the devil? I just literally asked John about his company page. Michelle, you'll be proud of me, because I admit that before I discovered Michelle Raymond, I was purposely ignoring my own page. And the reason is because I feel I am my brand, and I feel that my company is somewhere down the line in the background. But Michelle has inspired me to take more care of my company page. So we're going to wrap this up by showing off John's company page. And the only reason I'm doing that is because I want you to follow it. And apparently I was not following your page, so it's good I came here. Okay. Because we want, now LinkedIn lets us switch between commenting as yourself or commenting as your company. And I just want all of us to start focusing a little bit more on our company. So this is John's company. So being the bossy self I am, not only you need to go buy his book, but you need to subscribe to follow his company, please. And then I'll be happy. All right.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
No, thank you so much, John. I appreciate it. And I'm very impressed what you've been able to do with your community. So let's end it by showing off where people can find this wonderful community that you've built, and letting them know that the spots are limited. So if you don't get in now, then forever hold your peace, because the last thing I would just ask, and then I'll really wrap it up, is what do you do inside your community? Because some people may be watching this like, well, they're talking about his community, but they haven't said a word about like what actually happens. Is there like a weekly puppet show?
No, we do. I'm just in a couple of days, I'm about to do a content review. So I ask members to send me pieces of content, LinkedIn posts, websites, whatever. And then I'll do a video review of that and give you my editorial feedback on how that could be improved to get more engagement or better quality. We'll do live Q&A sessions where everyone hops on Zoom and they ask questions for an hour. We'll do live interview and stuff like that. I do deep dive videos, like here's a look at my video captioning software and this is how I use it and so forth. Daily discussions in the discussion group. We've got an email list. We've got a private podcast. So there's kind of all sorts of things going on, but it's all aimed at serving that community to give them help on content creation, personal branding, online visibility, and LinkedIn best practice. That's what it's all in service of.
This is amazing. All right, John. Well, this has been such a great discussion. So if you guys want in on that, which I think everyone should, then go check out the link that I have put up here. It's on John's website /join. And once you're on his website, you'll see a little membership box. So click on that after you buy his book. And I said after.
And let me just add that I'm about to, probably in the next week or so, reopen monthly membership. Right now, you can only join for a year. But I know that cost of living is going up. So I want to open up the ability for people to join on a month-by-month basis. So that's reopening probably in the next week. If you want to hold on for that, that's cool.
John, does your good heart have any bounds? Are you evil? Is there any ounce of evilness in you, or is it just pure goodness? I mean, that is so sweet of you. I know that people are really struggling, especially people who are dependent on jobs or,
totally.
So that's amazing. But LinkedIn can only help us, right? LinkedIn is there. So it's a worthy investment. We're not there just to meet friends. We're there
No.
because content creation is the key to building your brand and ultimately leading to nurturing people who will ultimately buy from you when you have an irresistible offer. So
Yep.
go to John, get nurtured, get your content straightened out, and then come to me when you're ready to sell. And I'll
Thanks,
help
Kristen.
you build those irresistible offers. I'll monetize you. Okay. You go to John to get all the good stuff, but then when you want to put those sales things in there, that's when you come see me. So perfect. Thank you, John. Will you stick around just 1 second? I'm going to end the broadcast for
I will.
everybody. So I am
Fine.
going to leave because John and I are actually in Europe and it's really late here. So it's past John's bedtime for sure. I know, guys. So let me end the audio event. Thank you, guys. Sorry about the problems with the audio quality. I might reach out to the LinkedIn audio team and ask them about this because I want to understand if it's my bandwidth or it's them, and ask if anyone else. We maybe I'll do a test with one of them and find out if we can go live and we can do the audio. So hold on. Let's say bye to everyone on audio. Bye-bye. Okay, that's done. And now we are still live on LinkedIn Live and LinkedIn YouTube. And I want to say thank you, everyone who showed up. This was great. And I hope that there will be more people who can watch this replay. I had several people say they couldn't stay for the whole thing, but they would definitely want to hear about your community.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you, John. Everyone say bye to John. And John, stick around for 1 minute. Let me end the broadcast.